and all fellow colleagues from Kadin Surabaya. Good morning. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this webinar. And I have to admit to you that I'm very happy to this webinar due to this COVID situation. We still could be gathered and sharing about how to cope with this pandemic. The initiation to establish this webinar between Kadin Surabaya and Inacham is a great idea, as it's beneficial to all of us in this situation. Indonesia, especially Surabaya as the second largest city in Indonesia, should learn from Hong Kong how they could manage this turmoil. The warm relationship between Indonesia and Hong Kong should be strengthened, and on behalf of Surabaya CCI, I would like to say thank you once again to the committee and the speaker, and for the friendship between Surabaya and Hong Kong. And we should be working closely in the future to help this kind of communication, event, or trade and investment. It is our job to share this current information about this COVID-19 from economic perspective, and the highlight of the future opportunities post the new normal should be discussed. And I think that's all for my speech for now. And last but not least, enjoy the webinar. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Andi Mentality. And next, we also have an opening remark from Mr. Kin Wai Lau as the Director General of Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office. Please, the floor is yours.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you very much. Thanks to Surabaya Kadin and HIMI for hosting this event. And our office, the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office and Invest Hong Kong, are very glad to support this endeavor. So the subject or the topic of this section, this webinar, is about the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So without a doubt, so the pandemic is definitely taking a toll on many economies. It's stifling economic activities, shutting down businesses, limiting travel and movement, and also dampening business sentiment and investment appetite. So Hong Kong, like Indonesia, like Surabaya, is no exception. So the Hong Kong government has put in place a swathe of measures to help mitigate the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. So on the healthcare front, so we've been endeavoring to curb the spread of infection. We have also been taking necessary measures to stop the import of infections into Hong Kong. At the same time, we have been devoting a lot of resources to treating patients, testing, and contact tracing. And at the same time, there are also various support measures introduced by the Hong Kong government to help business stay resilient and ride out of the storm. So we know that in many cases, opportunity comes along with adversity. So the Hong Kong government thus continues to further enhance the overall environment, even in this time of pandemic, so that businesses and investors will be able to ride on top of the potential opportunities when coming out of the pandemic. And in so doing, we are thinking not only about Hong Kong, but also our close trading partners. So in this regard, the fast-growing ASEAN, which is the second largest trading partner of Hong Kong, is definitely in our mind. So the bloc as a whole accounted for more than 12% of our total trade in 2019. And Indonesia, being the largest economy in the region, is as relevant as one could imagine. So there is a very close and conducive bilateral relation between the two, Hong Kong and Indonesia. To give you a few examples, so we have an investment promotion and protection agreement. We have also a comprehensive agreement on avoidance of double taxation. And most recently, we have completed the ASEAN-Hong Kong Free Trade Agreement and the related investment agreement. And the parts relevant to Indonesia have just been ratified. So all these provide very solid foundation for us, for both sides, to further strengthen our bilateral relations. And we always think that one's experience could be of reference to and others treading on the same path. So on this particular occasion, I'm very glad to share with our friends in Surabaya, in Indonesia, how Hong Kong has responded to the pandemic. And I'm very happy to have Jimmy and Kevin to share the relevant aspects from the perspectives of the government and businesses later. And perhaps I could also take this opportunity to provide you with an overview on the latest development concerning the national security law in Hong Kong. So the crux of the law is to establish and improve the legal system and enforcement mechanism for Hong Kong Special Administrative Region to safeguard national security. It will not undermine one country, two systems. Hong Kong will continue to have a high degree of autonomy. We will continue to have our executive, legislative, and independent judicial powers. So the legitimate rights and freedoms enjoyed by people in Hong Kong, both residents and visitors and investors, will not be affected. I mean, all these are enshrined in the basic law and the laws in Hong Kong. So the law aims at plugging the loophole in our constitutional arrangement and how maintain our city's prosperity, stability, and certainty. And I think from a business perspective, so businesses place a high premium on the safety and stability of an economy to provide the necessary certainty and confidence to help them make business plans and investment decisions. And also, a safe society and political stability are also prerequisites for an international financial center. Other international financial centers around the world are also protected by their country's respective national security laws, and their developments have not been affected. So we don't see any reason, there should be no reason to see Hong Kong would be an exception to that. And with all the fundamentals Hong Kong has, I'm sure that I'm very confident that our city will continue to be a premium location of choice for overseas companies and investors, as we have always been. And once again, thank you very much for Surabaya, Kadin, and HIPMI for providing this opportunity for us to share our perspectives from Hong Kong. I do look forward to the exchanges that follow, and I'm very happy to further exchange views and answer questions from participants. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lau. Now let's start the discussion and allow me to pass the floor to Mr. Charlie Raya, the Vice Chairman of Kadin Surabaya, also as the moderator. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Giovanni. Giovanni is our head of Asia Economic Operations at Kadin Surabaya. He's here with us to help us for any business collaborations that we do with Asian countries. Just for information, he finished his bachelor's in Singapore, and now he's doing his master and PhD in Tianjin, China. So you can speak in English with him, either in English or in Mandarin. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much for the warm opening. My chairman of Surabaya Kadin, Mas Andi. Thank you so much, Mas Andi, for your support. And for Mr. Lin Lau, it's a great collaboration. Palin is from Hong Kong Economic and Trade Offices. We met in Surabaya together with the Hong Kong Invest last times. We discussed a lot of ideas during that times. We don't know what happened. COVID comes after that, but a lot of ideas has been explored. We cannot meet in person, but we can do this in more a strategic way and more collaborative. Mr. Kim, thank you so much. Without further ado, let us come to the discussions with our speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, today discussions we will talk about how business can cope with pandemic, an experience sharing from our colleagues from Hong Kong. Yeah, as you know, the COVID outbreak has been declared a pandemic by the World Health Organizations, cause huge impact for people life, families, and communities. A global economic has also taken a big hit, several disruptions to global supply chain and business, sharp falls, stock markets, and volatility in exchange rate and commodity price, prompting governments and monetary authorities to roll out stimulus packages, relief programs, and monetary measures to help cushion the impacts and to adjust their predictions for the economic growth in 2020. As the international response continue to develop, you know that the business are facing potentially significant challenge to which they need response rapidly. Business is required to operate at minimum operations level, execute with their agility and priorities investment while staying focused on protecting their people. In my country, in Indonesia, the economic impact is evident through the fall of the IHSG and the rupiahs. The rapid severals of COVID-19 has affected most of the business. Meanwhile, government has already followed countermeasures implemented, such as, you know, social distancing, strong encouragement of work from home, like what we do right now. In many cases, we also see that this has caused a lot of business to turn into an online platform to be able to survive. Today, webinar session will share information on how private sectors in Hong Kong prepared themselves for the challenge in the current situations and their confidence in overall positions in Hong Kong, as well as how Hong Kong government is helping the impact of business sector to tide over the pandemic. I would like to welcome our first speaker, Mr. Jimmy Chiang. Mr. Jimmy Chiang is the Associate Director of Invest Hong Kong, a government department responsible for attracting and facilitating foreign direct investment into Hong Kong. He joined Invest Hong Kong in August 2003, and he was promoted to Head of Tourism and Hospitality in September 2010. He took over the ADG positions in April 2015, in which he oversees the department investment promotion strategies in the area of business, professional services, consumers product, creative industry, financial service, tourism and hospitality, and transport and industry. So prior joining Invest Hong Kong, Dr. Chiang worked with a Hong Kong-based multinational transportation company in a number of different managerial roles for the 5 years. Without further ado, Mr. Chiang, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Good morning from Hong Kong. It is my great pleasure to participate in this webinar organized by the Surabaya Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the Indonesian Young Entrepreneurs Association, Surabaya, and to share with you all today information about Hong Kong. What I would like to achieve in the next 20 minutes is, first of all, to give you a quick update about the latest economic situation in Hong Kong, and then highlight some of Hong Kong's fundamental strengths as a business location that have never changed. And finally, spend some time to talk about certain new opportunities that investors in Hong Kong are currently facing. To start with, how is Hong Kong doing economically right now? As many of you may know, since the beginning of year 2019, Hong Kong has been troubled by the US-China trade tensions. And then since June last year, social unrest triggered by the proposed amendment to the extradition law. And then since the beginning of this year, the COVID-19 pandemic. As a result, Hong Kong suffered from a minus 8.9% GDP growth in the first quarter of this year, year on year. And we expect the situation will remain quite challenging in the second quarter, but hopefully will get better in the last 2 quarters when the COVID-19 situation is more under control domestically and globally. For the whole year, the government is forecasting a GDP growth somewhere between -7% and -4%. Unemployment rate is standing at 5.2% right now. And in terms of international trade, import and export in Q1 dropped 10% and 9% respectively compared with the same period last year. It is indeed a very challenging time for Hong Kong, like for many other places in the world, given the impact of the pandemic, something really unprecedented. To fight the virus, the Hong Kong government has been working very hard together with all our people. Fortunately, the situation is largely under control right now. And we started to see confirmed cases from January this year, and the situation got worse from mid-March, and then the government responded very quickly by introducing a series of more stringent control measures. For example, issuing quarantine orders to people arriving in Hong Kong, closing some high-risk business premises, and restricting the number of people gathering in public. As a result, our daily number of new cases reached its peak at the end of March, and since then has been coming down gradually till now. And as of the 31st of May, a couple of days ago, Hong Kong had totally 1,085 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 4 cases of death. And I have to say that since the virus outbreak, we have never implemented complete lockdown. People in Hong Kong have still been able to go out freely, except those who are under quarantine, obviously. And since February this year, the Hong Kong government has already pledged more than 37 billion US dollars. That's equivalent to about 10% of our GDP, in order to help our businesses and citizens weather the storm of COVID-19 through various support and relief measures. For example, we are providing a lot of direct cash subsidies to businesses across various sectors, particularly tourism, F&B, retail, transport, which are probably the most affected by the pandemic. In addition, we also have various measures in place which aim to ease short-term cash flow problems of companies. A case in point is this special loan guarantee with very low interest rate, and more importantly, it's 100% backed by the government. What's more, we are also giving out wage subsidies to employers for 6 months, provided that our employers won't make their staff redundant in order to preserve jobs for our people. So in short, the government is highly committed to supporting our economy, and will roll out additional relief measures in a timely manner if required. Despite all these challenges that we are facing, Hong Kong's fundamental strengths as a business location remain unchanged. Just a quick recap of some of Hong Kong's major business advantages. Of course, Hong Kong is still one of the freest economies in the world. It's extremely easy to set up and do business here. And Hong Kong is the only common law jurisdiction in China with a truly independent judiciary, both English and Chinese being our official languages. That's the beauty of the one country, two systems principle. And our taxes are always low and simple. For companies, profits tax is only 16.5%, but actually for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollars of profits, you pay only 8.25% tax. So that's a good news for new companies and startups especially. And as you may know, Hong Kong has no sales tax, no VAT, no capital gain tax, no withholding tax on dividends or interest, no import and export tax. And geographically, Hong Kong is also very advantageous, located at the heart of Asia, and this is further supported by our sophisticated transport infrastructure. Hong Kong is also a global financial center, ideal for raising capital as well as asset and risk management. And last but not the least, the Hong Kong government is very healthy financially. Our ample fiscal reserves has enabled us to provide some powerful support for our businesses and people in this current crisis. And as business people, you know better than I that a crisis also creates opportunity. From my observations, companies which provide services in a digital way have been thriving in Hong Kong recently, such as e-commerce, food delivery, online entertainment, online education, and so on. And in this connection, technology companies which provide the relevant solutions, including solutions that facilitate working from home and conducting virtual meetings, are seeing more and more business opportunities in Hong Kong. For example, IT companies and also digital marketing agencies. And this trend will be further supported by our commercial 5G services, which have just been launched earlier this year. Creative and innovative companies, including startups, will find Hong Kong an attractive business location. In fact, the startup ecosystem in Hong Kong is growing very fast. In year 2019, more than 3,000 startup companies were operating in the city, up 43% against 2017. Startups in Hong Kong can easily access to a strong network of incubators and accelerators, a big pool of experienced angel investors and venture capitalists, as well as a wide range of government support programs. And in fact, Invest Hong Kong, we are also organizing our annual Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival this year in the second week of July. Will be largely a virtual festival, a virtual conference. So if you would like to learn more about our startup ecosystem, you're encouraged to register and join our upcoming startup festival. Whether you are a startup company, an SME, or a well-established multinational corporation, you will benefit from cheaper rents and prices in Hong Kong across various market segments, including commercial, retail, and residential. So a lot of international property agencies are forecasting, especially are in more than minus 10% drop in property rents in the commercial and retail segments. The residential segment will be doing a little bit better, but still expecting a drop from minus 10% to 5% this year in terms of rents. So right now, we are seeing some opportunistic companies setting up in Hong Kong, trying to take advantage of our dampened real estate market, with landlords being more accommodative now. But from my observations, financial services and professional services companies in Hong Kong are relatively less impacted by the pandemic. In fact, the prospect for such companies continues to be quite promising in the near future, especially because of our robust capital markets. In fact, Hong Kong has been the #1 IPO center in the world 7 times in the last 11 years. And it is generally believed that because of the increasing tensions between US and China, more and more mainland Chinese companies will actually choose Hong Kong over the US as a listing location, and thereby creating stronger demand for our financial and professional services. Although our bond market looks smaller compared with our stock market, it is still the 4th largest in Asia in terms of issuance, and more importantly, is growing steadily. To promote our bond market, on one hand, the government has been increasing its own bond issuance. On the other hand, we have also introduced various measures to attract new bond issuers to Hong Kong. For example, right now we are covering part of the issuance expenses for our first-time bond issuers in Hong Kong, and also to subsidize green bond issuers in obtaining green finance certification. Asset and wealth management, big business in Hong Kong, are indeed, Hong Kong is the biggest hub in Asia when it comes to asset and wealth management. In particular, the city is a very attractive location for ultra high net worth individuals from all over the world to set up their family offices. And these people, they certainly value Hong Kong's economic freedom, rule of law, low and simple tax system, as I have just mentioned. But the younger generations are indeed finding Hong Kong a great investment location in terms of innovation and technology, sustainability, as well as philanthropic assets. Hong Kong is your best gateway to access the Greater Bay Area, GBA, as well as the whole mainland China. Just to refresh your memory, the GBA comprises Hong Kong, Macau, in 9 cities in the Guangdong province, with a total population of more than 70 million and a total GDP comparable to that of Australia. And it has become a national policy and national strategy to develop the GBA into a world-class city cluster, driven largely by innovation and technology, as well as financial services. Now, with the high-speed train and the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau bridge, it's much convenient to travel between Hong Kong and other GBA cities. And actually, recently, the central government has also announced a number of policy measures, for example, to make it easier for Hong Kong residents, including foreigners, to live and work in the GBA, and also to enhance financial connectivity within the GBA, for example, by promoting cross-border investment and financing businesses. In short, with your base in Hong Kong, you enjoy some unique business advantages offered by a free economy and also the most strategic geographic position to tap into the GBA and mainland China. Similarly, we're also an ideal platform for you to develop and manage your business activities in the Belt and Road economies. The central government has given Hong Kong a very special role to play in the Belt and Road Initiative, especially in terms of infrastructure financing, provision of professional services, including dispute resolution, finding business partners, and establishing joint venture for project development. If you're interested to understand more about the benefits of setting up in Hong Kong, Invest Hong Kong will be more than happy to assist you. We offer a wide range of investment support services for foreign investors, all free of charge and confidential. at various stages throughout your business setup and expansion process. And although Invest Hong Kong doesn't administer any funding scheme directly, we can certainly share with you information related to various government funding schemes which may benefit your business operations in Hong Kong. For example, in terms of R&D, technology adoption, business development, talent development, and so on. You may also take a look at our website by scanning this QR code, where we capture more or less all the existing government funding and support programs for businesses. And of course, you will be supported by our global team of professional experts in our head office. They are industry specialists who can offer you the most value-adding, sector-specific information and support, regardless of which business sector you are coming from. And around the world, our work is also supported by 30 mainland and overseas offices. And I'm sure that my colleagues in our Jakarta office, Mr. Lau included, Hilwan and Andy, are very keen to get connected with you. So just to conclude, I would certainly encourage you to think about creating your business in Hong Kong, or if you already have a presence here, utilizing Hong Kong more fully for your business growth. And if you need any further information or assistance, please come to talk to us. Once again, thank you so much for joining the webinar, and I look forward to exchanging more ideas with you or answering some of your questions later on during the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jimmy, for your kind presentations. We would like also say thank you for Indonesian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, who make this webinar is possible. Our second speaker is Mr. So Kevin Chiheng. He's the co-founder and chief executive officer of Igogo Limited. Igogo Limited is e-commerce enablers. Mr. Kevin So obtained an MBA degree from Bentley University in the USA. Currently, Mr. Kevin serves as a COO at AV Concept Holdings Limited. And prior to that, he had pursued a career in corporate finance in international financial institutions. As an entrepreneur, Mr. Kevin So started his customers product-related career in 2013 when he started his first internet crowdfunding project. And subsequently, Mr. Kevin So joined Signed Neo Limited in 2014 and founded Igogo Limited in 2018. Without further ado, one more thing. He has an office already in 6 countries in Asia, including in Indonesia, in Jakarta. We hope furthermore you can have one also here in Surabaya, Mr. Kevin. So without further ado, we would like, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to share my my experience. So I have prepared a short, simple presentation, and let me share the screen right now. Okay, so everybody see my presentation? So, okay, so I'm Kevin, and then I am the CEO of the Igogo Group. And then actually, I also a founder of a Loveland Tea, which is a F&B chain, bubble tea chain in the Philippines. And then I also used to own some shops in Hong Kong. It's a storefront. Of course, because of the recent pandemic, I have to change the business from retail to online retail. And then for AV Concept, we are a distribution and trading company. It's a B2B company that we basically purchase product, sales to China, and then we also have some trading opportunity from to the US and Europe. So I'm pretty all-rounded, and also precisely because of this, during this pandemic, I've been hit not from one side, but quite a few businesses also has been hit. But it has a good and bad impact. So this is like an overall of where my businesses is. So you can look at the first picture. That's Cool Pop. It used to be my shop. I have two shops in Hong Kong, one shop in Taiwan. Physical storefront, beautifully designed, and then I just started it in 2019, early 2019. It was selling cool and popular products like gadgets, consumer products. Of course, we're aiming like tourists and then if someone has been to Hong Kong, I have shops in Tsim Sha Tsui, where the tourist area, which it was pretty hard hit by the recent events, and of course, and then I know that maybe some of you have a F&B business. I also feel your pain in the F&B business because the Loveland Tea, you saw the picture. That is my second shop opening in the Philippines, and I opened it in February this year. So the grand opening was the mid-February this year. It's like right after opening, and I think in the 2 weeks time, then Philippines has a lockdown. So I do feel your pain, and of course, in my main business, eGoGo Hub, which is a e-commerce enabler. I have offices in Vietnam, in Indonesia, and in Singapore. So actually, the biggest activity for my e-commerce business is now in Jakarta with more than 40 people, and then precisely because with the help of the e-commerce team, it gives me a lot of insight of what are the opportunities that is bringing to businesses during this pandemic. So how does the COVID-19 impact us in my business? So of course, for my Hong Kong, my retail business it has a huge impact on it. Like so in some area like Tsim Sha Tsui, we see that the foot traffic has been dropped by over 90%, and basically in the normal day there's like no one during the hardest hit time during the pandemic. There's like really no one in on the street, and then because we have to be very disciplined about social distancing, we have to close down the business, and also with the closure of the border, for physical shops, it was a pretty rough time. So at the end of the day, we were trying to wait for the government's subsidies for physical shop, which is I think for each shop was 80,000 Hong Kong dollar. But we decided to not take it, but then we have to close down the shop in March, like early March this year, when the rent is when the rental contract is over. So we have to close down the shop. We have to reduce manpower, and then for my distribution business, not just us, but a lot of our customer, the sales has dropped, and then the business is so bad that for some customer there's a risk of a bad debt, and that was like okay, and also because we are purchasing from China, there's a risk of supply chain management where the country was locked down and then we cannot ship product out, or the internal country, because China is a big place. Some of our factory is open, but the factory supplier, which may be in another province, they are not open. So so the supply chain impact was really big. And so with all these factors that was impacting impacting me. And then in the picture that was me going back to work on the first day, full cover on suit, and then we were cleaning the office. And but we see opportunity because we for 1 month we were actually helping a lot of businesses to purchase PPE, which we have access to. And another big challenge a lot of the company facing right now is like we used to work together in one office. That's why office space is so expensive in Hong Kong, because everyone needs office space. But during the past 3 months, we have a lot of the time we have to work from home. So as an owner of a small and medium business, we never had a protocol for working from home. So it just question is like, okay, how did everyone work remotely? How can we conduct a meeting? And then the thing is, how do we motivate staff to work? Because Hong Kong houses are really tiny and small. So when some person is trapped in the house and then with the kids yelling and crying and in a very cramped place, is that how can we motivate staff to work? And then we also look at our back-end operation flow because until the pandemic hit, we were a pretty traditional company. A lot of the invoices, a lot of the things are still handling by hand. Like we use Excel, we print paper out. A lot of the time, I still need people to come inside my office and physically give me a piece of paper to have signature on it to co-sign everything. So a lot of the business was still very in the 1990s or even 1980s. So it was pretty non-efficient, and definitely we are not so ready about working remotely. That's why during the pandemic, during the lockdown, it really gives us a sense of urgency that we have to change, and we were forced to change. But the good thing is, we were forced to change to become better. And of course, the next is I'm going to talk about like how some of the Hong Kong government scheme that helps us with the change, because all the change takes money, takes effort, takes time. So I look at the ways like the government support in the 3 parts: how they preserve my business, how they upgrade my business, and how they can expand my business. So just now, at the past presentation, we'll see that there are a lot of schemes rolled out by the government, and then the one scheme that we actually find it the most useful and directly help us is the ESS scheme, the employment support scheme. So I have a lot of employee in Hong Kong, and it's not that I cannot pay for them. It's a lot of them. They are afraid that is the company going to lay off them? The morale is very low. They are afraid that they won't have a job. So actually, we told when the government announced the scheme, I think in April, we actually told the staff that, hey, don't worry, there's a government scheme coming in, so we are not going to lay off anyone. Anyone that is working right now, they have the job safe. So it boosts the morale of the company. So the scheme was pretty straightforward. It was the government will subsidize 50% of the salary, or the maximum 9,000 Hong Kong dollar. That's about 1,100 US dollar for 6 months. So it helps us to preserve our business. And then the next, after we preserve our business, there are government schemes that help us to upgrade our business. So there's two programs that we are making use of. One is which the government just rolled out very recently. It's called DB's Distant Business Program. It helps my company to transform from all the work from home. So we are able to like if we apply for Zoom, we apply for the Google Suite, and then of course there are other digital aspects that we can apply to make our company a lot more mobilized. I mean, as simple as we also apply for like purchasing laptops for the company. It was like, hey, I need to purchase some laptop because what I used to have is desktop in the office, and with this scheme I can purchase like laptop for even for my accounting supporting staff. So everyone has a laptop, they can work from home. So it's as simple as that. And then the TVP, the Technology Voucher Program, is a more extensive program that help us to upgrade. So we can build an ERP like a whole automated ERP system using the money. So the whole thing is about like preserve the business, then we have to upgrade the business to digitalize my business. So even for my retail shop, it's like, okay, we close down our retail shop, but then the next thing is like we open up an online shop, and then we use some of the scheme money to do promotion for the online shop, and also we are able to do like the fast delivery, fast tracking of products. So we are upgrading our business during the pandemic, and truly I think that when we get out of it, we are much stronger company. So this is an upgrade. And then next is expansion. So after we upgrade our business, there are two major schemes that I'm looking into right now. With the government funds are the BUD fund and the SME fund. So the BUD fund is stand for branding, upgrade, and domestic sales. So and then it's a major fund because it's a subsidies of like it's a matching fund. So up to 4 million Hong Kong dollar to help the Hong Kong companies to expand into overseas and China market. And when they overseas is actually specifically ASEAN. So since I have an Indonesia operation, so all the money that I spent in Indonesia, all the marketing money, all the setup I spend in Indonesia, actually 50% of it is going to be subsidized with the Hong Kong government. That's why this is a huge motivation for Hong Kong company to work with ASEAN's company to promote the product because they're with the branding upgrade and domestic sales scheme, it's it's a $4 million. So if I want to get all $4 million of subsidies, I will be spending $8 million in total because it's a 50% matching, and then with 8 million Hong Kong dollar, that's a lot. We can do a lot with it in Indonesia, in the Philippines, in Vietnam, all these places. So and then vice versa, it's like the same scheme also let Hong Kong company to promote products into China. So let's say, for example, if I work with a company, if I work with a brand or like a coffee brands in Indonesia, because you guys have the wonderful coffee, then I can promote your brand into China I can also use this scheme. So so it beneficial both way. And now, of course, there are SME Export Marketing Fund. That means like there are additional subsidies for me to do marketing overseas. When I do exhibition, trade shows, all these are subsidized by the Hong Kong government, which is which is good. And right now there's some case study. This for my company, and this is a video that this is my first day when my Indonesia office is locked down. Let me just quickly play the video. Okay, so you get the idea. It's like right now, this is a very new normal now. It's like this from my HR department. This person had to open up a lot of laptops, and then all my teams, they are using Zoom, they're using Google Meet to actually business as usual, as normal. Oh, sorry. And we actually reach a better efficiency during the pandemic and knockdown. Some of the technology that we adopt is like remote working tools. We use like Asana, Monday, TikTok, Zoom, Google Suite, and the best thing about all this technology is like I can tell all these small medium company, even if you are like a small company, they're great. They're free. Most of them, they are free for small company because they give you like free 5-member, 10 free members. So I say just jump into it and use it. These apps are wonderful. It's very simple to use. And then also we got a lot of new business opportunity. One thing about the pandemic, this is not a regional pandemic. This is a global pandemic. So it kind of level out the playing field for all the competition. Everybody has a reset. So if you're big and small, we are all experiencing the same thing. So so just look around where some of the businesses, it used to be maybe only reserved for the big business, but right now, the bigger the business, the less flexible they are, and then they are slower to change. So as a small and medium company, it is an opportunity for us to fill in the slot. Like if we can change faster, we can fill in the slot. So, and then of course there are the digital economy boom, and then also there's a new global supply chain demand coming in. I'll say the economy boom is like for my Indonesia e-commerce division, we actually see a 300 year-to-year growth. It is quite spectacular. It's like last year we're like, okay, we're just trying out this thing. We were trying to enabler. We're doing an enabling business for a lot of the Indonesian company. A lot of them, they are kind of reluctant because they think that, okay, it's still good. They're still selling offline. But this year, because it forces everyone to go online, so we have a major boost. So I'm sure that if your company can change fast enough, you are able to capture this new wave of growth. And then it can grow a lot faster because now you're doing online. Everything online, it grows faster. So if you're in Surabaya, but overnight you can reach, you can set up a shop in Tokopedia, Shopee, all these places. Overnight you can reach not just in the entire Indonesia, you can even reach out to the entire Southeast Asia. So it's fast. And then there's a new demand of new wave product. So I used to sell a lot of those the gadgets and digital headphones and all this product. But right now, I mean, how many headphones, how many phones do you need? You don't need that much. But now I see that personal health and hygiene products, we're seeing a growth there. And then the home improvement goods is like people, they're now spending a lot more times at home. So they're now they're not spending on themselves. They're spending on homeschool. They're spending on new furniture, new doorknob, new couch, all this. So these are a big wave of new businesses that I see is a positive impact or like a post COVID-19 improvement. And of course, a home education, when the kids now, you don't want your kids to go out and play too much. So home education for kids, the toys business, the kids books, is everything is we see a boom there. And I see like as a private sector looking at Hong Kong, it's like, okay, what is Hong Kong so special about? What kind of role Hong Kong can do at the post-pandemic? Since I'm from, I also have a trading arm in my company. We see that there's a demand for new global chain management. That means like a lot of my U.S. and Europe customer, they realize that they cannot rely on one country for supply, which were China. Before they were focusing so much on getting all the product from China, but now they see that there's a need for them to diversify. So I actually do have a lot of inquiry from Europe and US. They were actually asking me that, hey, do I have connection to like factories in Southeast Asia, because now they're looking for new supply source. So I see that this is also very beneficial. And then as Hong Kong company, we have extensive experience for supply chain management. Hong Kong is also a great place for financing all this deal. So now I'm more actively looking to work with factories in Southeast Asia, not just factories in China. And of course, for e-commerce, Hong Kong also can be like an e-commerce technology hub, not because we develop a lot of e-commerce technology, but Hong Kong is very close to China, and there are so many new solution e-commerce digital solution coming out from China every day. And in Hong Kong, we are so much closer. And then sometimes we're also using all this China e-commerce solution. I think as a Hong Kong company, we can work with Southeast Asia. We can work with company in Indonesia to bring all this new technology from China and incorporate them to Southeast Asia. Because of course, Hong Kong, we have a lot of talented people. Most of us, we are bilingual. We speak English and then Chinese. So we can still. I see Hong Kong. We can still have the role to be the bridge for China and Southeast Asia. So I do see that with the pandemic and the post-pandemic, I see that there's a lot of new opportunity coming out, and I sincerely hope that everyone is able to capture some of these new news opportunity, and then we are able to form a close working relationship in the near future. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin, for a very nice presentation. So I was surprised by numbers that you are sharing. Is 300% year-to-year growth in this sector. So it's a very big opportunity for all of us, including our colleagues in Hong Kong and also our partners, friends here in business people here in Surabaya. If they can, you give a quick quote today is, if they change the fast enough, yeah, you can grow faster, which is it means that the market is more big. We don't just see the market just Surabaya or Indonesia, because Surabaya is already known as a hub for the eastern part of Indonesia. but putting your business into the digitals, you can reach out to market at least in the Southeast Asia countries, right? So I would like to open our next sessions to the discussions. There's some friends already put some chat in the chat rooms. I will read it out for all of you. First question has come from Pak Yusuf Agung. We have heard that PRC government will endorse a new national security law to be imposed in Hong Kong. Will this affect a dual system in Hong Kong, as right now Beijing can impose any laws in Hong Kong without the concept or approval by Hong Kong Parliament? Will this give economic security for foreign business in Hong Kong, since Beijing government can now intervene to Hong Kong's law? These related questions maybe can be answered by Mr. Kim Lau, probably. Would you mind to answer this, Mr. Kim?
Yeah. Yes. Sure. So, yeah, thank you very much for the question. So, a very simple and direct answer is that the national security law to be implemented will not undermine the one country, two systems framework, and it will not change or replace the common law jurisdiction in Hong Kong. So just let me give you a little bit more perspective about this, because I think it's very important to look at the background and the recent developments surrounding the national security law. So we're talking about national security here, and like many other countries, so national security or the prerogative concerning national security rests with the central authorities, and it's also the case in mainland China. And so what the central government is doing is trying to plug the loophole in our constitutional arrangements. So I believe many of you have been have been following the developments or the happenings in Hong Kong over the past few months, and different violent and illegal acts that emerged in Hong Kong during those periods have seriously undermined national security and social stability in Hong Kong. And unfortunately, while there is there's a leeway, or there is a way for Hong Kong to enact our own version of local legislation relating to national security, the fact on the ground is that the executive and the legislative branches of Hong Kong will unlikely be able to complete the relevant enactment of legislation in the foreseeable future. So it will be very important for not only the central government, but also the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region government, also everyone in Hong Kong, to see that the stability or the threats to stability and prosperity posed by those acts could be adequately addressed. So I think that's the background or the relevant perspectives of the national security law. And the National People's Congress has made it very clear that in fleshing out the details of the national security law, it will only target at 4 very specific types of acts. So they are acts of secession, subverting state powers, organizing and carrying out terrorist activities, and also activities interfering with the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region's internal affairs. And there are also various basic principles guiding the drafting of the national security law. And these include further enhancing the system of one country, two systems, and also governing Hong Kong in strict accordance with the law, and also upholding the legal rights and freedoms for people in Hong Kong. So I think the exercising of the authority vested to the central authorities to deal with the national security situation in Hong Kong is very specific and is pertinent to the specific situation in Hong Kong. And so once again, it will not replace the common law jurisdiction, the existing legal system that have been in place in Hong Kong for decades. And Hong Kong will continue our common law jurisdiction. And this is also protected under the basic law. And the national security law will basically to supplement the inadequacy of the existing laws in Hong Kong. So it is incompatible with our existing legal system and will not affect our independent judicial power, including that of final adjudication. And I think once again, and for those law-abiding people in Hong Kong, including residents and investors, business people, well, for all of you, there is nothing to really worry about simply because of this national security law. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Low. I think it's very clear answer. Then I will go to a second question from Wira Zaini. Pak Jimmy and Mr. Jimmy and Mr. Kevin, how Hong Kong people truly view Hong Kong stability in terms of, oh, sorry, this one first. From Benny, we would like to ask if we would like to buy property in Hong Kong. How about the papers, tax, and ownership? And can we have a loan from the bank there in Hong Kong if we are foreigners? Thank you. I think these questions might be referred to Pak Jimmy Chiang. Pak Jimmy, would you mind to take an answer on this question, please?
Well, thank you for the question. Of course, we welcome you to come to Hong Kong to invest, including buying property. Hong Kong is the freest economy in the world, so there isn't any special restriction for an Indonesian investor to acquire our property. In terms of taxation, if you're renting out your property for an income, certainly you will be subject to a tax. Normally for a foreign investor, you may choose to set up a company in Hong Kong and then use your company to own your property investment. In that case, if you rent out your property for an income, then you're subject to the normal profits tax rate, 16.5%. But like I said, right now for all companies in Hong Kong, your first 2 million Hong Kong dollars of profits, the tax rate is cut by half. It's only 8.25%. And in terms of drawing a bank loan, all I can say is not something impossible, but whether a case will be successful really depends on various factors. So I can't really say for sure on behalf of any bank in Hong Kong, but it's not something impossible.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy, for the answers. And I'll go to next questions. Next question from Wira Zaini. Pak Jimmy and for Pak Jimmy and Pak Kevin, maybe how Hong Kong people truly view Hong Kong stability in terms of property ownership in Hong Kong dollar stability since dispute between China and mainland US escalate over time. Sorry, your voice is mute.
Maybe I try to adjust that. If I understand the question correctly, the inquirer is asking that the tensions between US and China are increasing. Would that affect property ownership in Hong Kong, or affecting the stability of the Hong Kong dollar? I think to both, the answer is a definite no to me. Of course, property ownership will not be affected in any way by this tension issue. Our legal system is very wholesome in Hong Kong. That's why local and international investors, they feel confidence that their property rights, including intellectual property rights, are being well protected by the Hong Kong law. And regarding the stability of the Hong Kong dollar, I think this is also something you don't have to worry about too much. As I said, the Hong Kong government is very healthy financially. I mentioned about our fiscal reserves, which is ample, but actually the Hong Kong Monetary Authority is also managing a huge sum of foreign currency reserves. This is for us to safeguard the stability of the Hong Kong dollar. So this is something that you can be assured that Hong Kong dollar, pegged with the US dollar, this arrangement will be kept very, very safe and intact.
Yeah. So as a Hong Kong citizen, I can just add to that. It's simply terms is like for the past weeks, the stock market is still up. So I guess the consumer confidence is still there. If not, people that they are not pulling the money out from the stock market. So I think the stock market is a good indicator of the stability of Hong Kong.
All right. Thank you. We go to the next questions. This is from Pak Ryan Sutanto. First question, is there any recommendations or examples in transformations or innovation in business model, the workflow to adapt with the current pandemic? If so, then would the strategy be set up for a long or only in interim situations? This might be referred to Mr. Jimmy Chiang. I think you have explained it earlier, but is there some things you see that in the long terms or only to meet to be used during this pandemic situations?
Well, I think, thank you for the question. Of course, I mentioned some relevant points. Regardless of what business sector that you are operating in, digitization is probably the future. So embracing new technologies to do your business remotely, digitally is definitely the trend. And as Kevin mentioned in his great presentation, there are a few government funding schemes that you can leverage if you are doing that with your Hong Kong business. And then, of course, depending on your business sectors, of course, right now, tourism, retail, and F&B sectors are quite adversely affected by the pandemic. But even if that's the case, we are seeing new opportunities arising from, as I mentioned, e-commerce, food delivery, and in terms of retail, companies, retailers selling basic necessities, daily products are still doing very well in Hong Kong, selling personal hygiene products, things like that. And we have foreign investors operating in this space, getting busier with their business in the last few months. Some supermarkets, some department stores, targeting the general public, are actually doing better business. So I guess also depending on which sector you're coming from, probably Kevin can share his insights as an entrepreneur as well.
I think for the business model, I think the business model should be when it takes a lot of effort to change the business model. and to change the workflow. So when we change it, we actually make sure that we are going to use it in the long term, because it's the pandemic make it into like a work from home and all, and then like digitalizing all this workflow. We actually see it as increased productivity and increased efficiency. For example, okay, for my team in Jakarta, right now, of course, the lockdown is still in place, but in back before the pandemic, we all understand that my company is at the fluid area, so it's in the north. It's in North Jakarta. So if I want to meet someone in the city, one day we can only meet with like one company at most, and we all understand why we can only meet with one. Maybe if you're lucky, you can meet with two companies, right? But right now with Zoom meeting, you can meet 5 to 6 companies a day. We can host a lot of meeting online, and we see that there's a good efficiency. And then also like we have less, of course, now a lot of our staff, we have flexible work hour. So it's good, because last time everybody has to go to work before 9, and they at the end of the day they're all stuck in traffic. So they're just stuck there. So the efficiency are not there. But right now, I think even after the pandemic, a lot of these new business flows will. I see that it will remain in place because it increased efficiency.
Yeah, very true. Thank you, Kevin. We have last 4 minutes, so probably 1 or 2 other questions. I will read the next questions. I want to ask about the impact of tourism industry and SME in Indonesia and how to get up early. I think these questions may be referrals to Indonesian company, but however, Mr. Jim, probably you can share an experience, probably an examples of how tourisms there are impacted and how they are ready to bounce back.
We are talking about tourism for Hong Kong. Indeed, it is a really hard hit, no doubt about it, under the pandemic. So I guess this is something that we need to be patient. Of course, as I mentioned, the virus situation in Hong Kong is quite under control at this moment, but it's a global thing. So tourism, our inbound tourism won't affect if our key markets are not improving anytime soon. But one good thing is mainland China being our biggest tourism market is doing well in this regard, and we also expect that very soon there will be more people flow again between mainland and Hong Kong, and this will start to provide support for our inbound tourism. And then hopefully later on, our international travel ban will be lifted between Hong Kong and many other countries which have controlled the situation nicely. But at this moment, I think there's still a lot of pressure for tourism industry. So that's why even our Hong Kong Tourism Board is thinking about later on doing events focusing on local consumers first to support our local retail companies, our restaurant operators, to hold events in Hong Kong, to revitalize the city, attracting people, local people to come out to spend, to buy and eat, to shop, and then later on to do some more aggressive promotions in other countries to attract tourists.
Thank you. Maybe we have one last minute, but I would like to summarize these 3 questions. We'll be heavily asking Kevin on that. As you know that these three questions come from Mr. Giovanni and also Pak Abdul Ghafur. Yeah, they're asking about the online business. As you see the questions on the chart. Do you have any guidelines how to be successful on changing from retail business to become online business?
Yeah. So I saw that there are a lot of questions, and this is I think the first thing that you have to do is like you cannot be afraid of the online business. That it is because I see it from US with the rise of Amazon. I saw it in China with the rise of the Alibaba, Taobao, all this. So we see that it is not, it is the future that we are all moving towards to. So we have to do it. And so for online, I think the first thing is like we as a business owner, yes, we're doing the same business for the past 30 years the same way, but we really have to start reading or learning the fundamental of the online business. So there are so many YouTube videos talking about online business, and there are so many lectures, seminar talking about online business. So I think get a basic concept of online business first, and of course, and I'm not just trying to sell myself, but like I set up the company in Indonesia precisely is to help local businesses to go online. So that's why all these e-commerce enabler are there. A lot of businesses say, okay, why do I want to give you some percentage to go to Tokopedia when they can register themselves? But I say, okay, online there are many aspects. There are many is a big field of study. So that's why we are not the only enabler. There are a lot of other enabler in the country. So you can, and then the consultation is always free. You know, you just call one of the enabler up and ask for a consultation section. And most of us, we are giving free service or free consultation. So I think that's a good way to start. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. There is from Pak Khairul asking about your contact information. I think Pak Khairul, you can go to www.igogohub.com. Yeah, I think you can find every details about Igogo in their website, and you can start to contact them. I think that's all for our discussions with panelists today. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. I will return this back to our moderators.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sariraya. Thank you once again to all for your participation. And we hope to see you soon on the next Kadin event. Next Kadin event will be held on June 11th in collaboration of Kabar Business and Upgrindo, welcoming new normal in F&B business. And the last one, please turn on your camera so that we can have a group photo. Okay, maybe Mas Dito can take the photo, ya.
Oke. Ketum, mungkin ada yang mau disampaikan, Ketum?
I'm good, Pak Charlie. Thank you for the speakers and Mr. Kin Wailo. I haven't mentioned you before. I just realized that you already in this webinar, and the community. Thanks for your effort. I'm really appreciate it. And all of my colleagues from Kadin and HIPMI, hopefully you could enjoy this webinar and the next webinar. Thank you.
Should we say cheers or?
Cheers. 1, 2, 3. Everybody say cheers. 1, 2, 3. Okay, once again, everybody. 1, 2, 3. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Charlie. Thank you, Pak Andi.
Pak Hilwan, makasih Pak Hilwan.